Sup, guys? Let's rant about this. I've been on a roll. Yesterday was pretty hard to take, to be honest. 2-4 yesterday. A couple of losses that were really, really difficult to take. I was, very frustrated. Started out all right. We had the Cincinnati Bengals. That was a loss like the whole way. Like, I'll take that loss. The Steelers outplay the Bengals completely. Like, dominated the game. It was shocking that the Bengals were still in that game, and they could have scored a touchdown at the end to actually win the game outright and cover for me as well. So I was hoping I'd get lucky on that one. The Bengals are still in that game because the Steelers cannot score. The Steeler offense is not good at all. But that was not to be. I'll accept that loss because statistically it was just way lopsided in the Pittsburgh favor. So whatever, fine. Bellarmine in college basketball covered shortly after that. That was good. That was a nice one there. They were pretty much wire to wire. They were within number there. West Virginia did not put up a lot of points. It was kind of a ho-hum effort for them, although they got out of there with the win, but that's kind of expected. But Bellarmine stayed in the game, covered the big number, and they actually kind of had an opportunity to win that game almost, which would have been pretty wild. But so that was good. Everything was looking kind of nice because then we had what else do we have going on there? We had the Bills was the next game, and they covered. So there was a point in the day where I was actually 2-1, even though the Bills should have won the game outright. I mean, they out-yarded the Eagles by, I think, over 100 yards or something like that. They outplayed the Eagles, and it came down to like one pretty bad, crucial interception that really kind of swung the game the other way. Like the Bills defense actually showed up and played fairly well in that game. After the opening score for the Eagles, which was like the only point where they were covering when they were up 7-0, I think they might have been up 7-3. Bills took a 17-7 lead, and it was that score, I think, in the second half, like in the third quarter. The Eagles still only had that 7 points on the board. Excuse me. So Buffalo, held the Eagles very much in check. And then it came down to, as you guys know, if you saw the game, Buffalo was winning again by 10 after they let the Eagles get back within 3. Buffalo scored again, pushed it back to 10 with not that much time left, really, in the fourth quarter. They're up 24-14. Then what happened? They gave up a touchdown. Then Josh Allen immediately threw an interception at the worst possible time in his own end. Might as well have been a pick six, because then at that point, Buffalo's defense basically stopped being able to slow the Eagles down or stop anybody, and the Eagles scored another touchdown almost immediately. So all of a sudden, the Eagles score 14 points in a matter of a minute, basically. And now, instead of being down 10, they're up 4 and covering the 3.5. I'm like, what? Seriously, what the fuck, dude? What is happening? Buffalo at least was able to get that final touchdown there to go back ahead by 3, and they took a lot of time off the clock with a very good drive, excellent drive. So I'm thinking I'm going to get the money line, cash there as well. Although I'm still nervous about them not covering, because now you have to worry about overtime. They can't really stop anybody, but they actually stopped the Eagles on that last drive. The Eagles got past midfield, but that was about it. And there were a couple of big defensive plays, a couple of bad penalties on the side of the Eagles as well. False starts on Jason Kelce. I don't know. I don't know if he's distracted by his brother's ridiculous situation. It's become a major distraction for the public, at least, just in general. But whatever is going on there, that set them back, and the Eagles had to attempt a 59-yard field goal, which I think I forget who their kicker is. Jake Elliott. Yeah, I forget what they said is. I don't remember what his longest career field goal is, but I think this might have become it, or maybe he's kicked a 60 or a 61 before. I'm not even sure, but this was in the rain, and he did not have a wind behind him. The wind was going left to right, I believe. But it's still, he just got the distance on it, and it did not miss. It got through. A field goal that I would say probably had about a 30% chance of making that field goal to send the game to overtime. Otherwise, Bills are going to win the game outright. No, he made the field goal. So now it's going into overtime. This is so insane. But then the Bills won the coin toss. And then at that point, you're feeling like, pretty much that's going to be a cover at that point. Like, but knowing my luck, they're going to throw a pick six. It's going to be like Matt Hasselbeck. We want the ball and we're going to score. We want the ball and we're going to win. Immediate pick six. Like, that's what I was thinking, because Josh Allen was just like failing so hard in some of the late moments in that game. He did fail in overtime, though, because the Bills got the ball first. And yeah, they scored a field goal on that drive, which kind of secured the cover for me. But they could have won the game. They had a touchdown. He had I don't know if it was Gabe Davis. He had somebody wide open in the end zone at the end of that drive there, and it was miscommunication or something. Josh Allen threw the ball to nobody. I don't know. I don't know how many feet away, but he threw it way to the right of where I think he thought his receiver was going to cut in, and the receiver cut out instead or something. He could have hit him wide open for a touchdown. It was single man coverage, and he had the defender beat. Just ridiculous. I don't know what excuse you can have there for Josh Allen there. Especially the Bills had their new OC now. I think this is the reason why they fired their OC, to maybe not have as many mistakes like that. But of course, then that was pretty much it, because then the Bills at that point had been unable to stop anybody, even though for most of the game they were keeping the Eagles' offense in check. But of course, you knew at that point the Eagles were going to score the touchdown and win by 3, and that's exactly what happened. Bills cover, though. So we're 2-1. Then you had the Charlotte Hornets. Great, because they were within the number, like almost wire to wire. It looked like it was probably going to be a cover for them. They had a great first quarter. Then they kind of started letting it slip. They were still within the number. They were within 2 points in the fourth quarter, and they were still within 3, I think, with like several minutes left in the game. So it was looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. The Magic went on a complete tear right near the end, and they wound up the Magic wound up winning by whatever it was, like what was it, 13, 14? I don't know what it was. Something like that. Yeah, I think it was 13. Just awful. The Hornets were within that number. I still think it was the right play on that one. Statistically, the game was pretty close, and the kind of major discrepancy there was the free throw discrepancy. Orlando had a lot more free throws attempted and a higher free throw percentage, although it looks like they were the better team in the paint. So certainly they deserve to win. I don't know about winning and covering all being part of how the game played statistically. Both teams shot really well. Excuse me. The shooting was like really even. Orlando did out-rebound the Hornets by, I think, 8 or something like that. But the free throw discrepancy was kind of the biggest thing that I noticed. Free throws made and attempted. But, yeah, that's one where you have the cover almost the entire way. And then you have like an a closing run for the other team that just completely swings the game the other way. Like, looked like the Hornets were going to stick around for the rest of it, and that did not happen. So that was awful. Still think that one was the right play. Then we go into the night games where everything just was the worst that it could possibly be. NHL, the Anaheim Ducks, they were winning that game early in the game. They were winning 1-0. They were winning 2-1. And it's like, all right, well, when you have plus 1.5 goals on the puck line, that's not bad. You're up 1 goal. Then it's like you blink and all of a sudden they're down 4-2. They gave up so many goals in the second period and then again in the third period. They wound up losing 8-2, just absolutely ridiculous. The game statistically did not bear that out at all. Like, from even when the Ducks were like ahead, they had the shot discrepancy in their favor. The whole game they had the face-off percentage in their favor, like to the tune of like 55, 56%. They had way more hits, so they were the way more physical team. They had more penalties, but not by that much. And there was a 1 power play goal for Edmonton, which didn't really affect the outcome, I don't think, because there were so many goals scored. It was like Anaheim just didn't even have a goalie in net, basically, because statistically, otherwise, the game was very close and slightly in favor of Anaheim, to be honest. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was in that game. Yeah, it was just like they didn't even have a goalie anymore at that point. They let so many of the other team's shots go through. They gave up 8 goals, and I think Edmonton had somewhere in the vicinity of 20-something shots in the game. I think both teams were in the 20s. I think Edmonton might have wound up with like a shot advantage of 1 or something at the end of it, which is also kind of weird when you're a team that's like down by that much. Usually you see that team like just take a barrage of like bad shots and wind up with the shot discrepancy, but whatever. That was terrible. Statistically, again, I think situationally it was the right play to make it. Statistically, I think it was way closer than the final was. Statistically, it was close enough that should have been a cover. Like, I think the final score in that one was just very misleading. Just, I don't know what that was. Just horrific goaltending. I don't know, horrific at the last line of defense. I didn't watch the game, but I am at a loss for words. And then it got as bad as possible with the Chargers game late night, because the Chargers, they were in that game the whole time. Like, I think the Ravens out-yarded them by a bit, but the Chargers did enough to cover that. Like, the Ravens did not put enough points on the board to really be covering as a road favorite. And it was just like every time the Chargers were looking like they were going to do anything, they turned it over. I think they were -4 in turnovers. They had 4 turnovers in the game. They had one in the second half that was absolutely crucial. I think they were within the 10-yard line. They were absolutely going to score, at least put 3 on the board there and get me those fantasy points from Eckler, although I think I'm going to win in fantasy and maybe actually make the playoffs with 3 straight wins. Yeah, great. Even though that's worth a lot less to me than these bets are. Chargers were still in that thing, man. Like, all those turnovers, just absolutely crucial turnovers. That one turnover that they had, what was it? I think it was a sack fumble when they were like inside the 10, when they were about to score. They were inside the Ravens 10-yard line. Even if that one turnover doesn't happen, I think the Chargers probably cover that number. But yeah, it was just awful. And the Ravens still weren't like putting it away. They weren't able to score. Chargers actually were able to score a touchdown to get within 3. And it looked like that was going to be the final. They were down 3. It looked like they were going to have another chance to maybe do something, and they did not. So of course, the Chargers, again, they got into Ravens territory, I believe. And then they turned it over on downs. So great. They're still down 3. And at that point, it's like, well, if the Ravens get 1 first down, they're going to run up the clock. They're up 3. We'll take the cover at least here, even though it would have been a slightly losing day for me. 3-3 is a lot better than 2-4. Chargers absolutely should have covered that number. You guys saw what happened in that game if you were watching it. The Ravens, they get 1 first down, they're going to be able to run out the clock because they were burning the Chargers timeouts. And at the point where they got their first down, I think the Chargers had 2 timeouts left. So I think it was like a situation where you could run out the clock or run it down to the point where the Chargers were going to have no time left when they get the ball back. What happens? No, the Ravens break off this run. Zay Flowers, I think, just completely breaks off a run, and there are no Chargers defenders there, and he just runs it all the way for like a 45-yard touchdown when they hadn't had any play that long, I think, in the entire game, because the game was so low scoring the whole time. And I think if he was smart after he got the first down, he should have slid down to the ground so they could run out the clock, because you don't want to give the Chargers offense anything, because you know how good their offense is, even though the Ravens defense was really good in that game. The Chargers offense was screwing up all over the place. Even so, why would you want to give them a minute and a half to possibly do something with it, to do anything with it? If you go down with that ball, the game is over. Like, you'll be able to kneel and run out the clock. So that was very bizarre. It didn't make sense from the perspective of the Ravens to do that, and it crushed the cover, and the Ravens wound up winning by 10 because of that. It's absolute bullshit, complete bullshit. Chargers should have covered, and I shouldn't be as mad as a Colts fan, because it was a weird situation when you're a Colts fan and you have bets on 2 teams that are battling your team to get into the playoffs in the AFC, the Chargers and the Bills. So both of them losing helps the Colts. Colts like hang on to that final wild card spot there. But even so, it looked like we were going to get both games were going to wind up being 3-point losses. So you get the cover, but the team doesn't win, even though I'd rather just have the money line cash, man. My bias gets like thrown out the window here. I want the money line cash. But yeah, I thought at least we were going to get both covers by the half point, both 3-point losses. And then that helps the Colts there. But nope, that didn't happen. Awful, really bad day. The worst day that I've had in a while. I'm really angry. I'm not happy at all. Moving on to today. It's a short card. I'm going to try to keep this short. I do have one play, and I'm not sure I love it, to be honest. It's not in the Monday Night Football game, because I would have talked about it on my NFL show. And I think I did mention this game, but We could talk about how the market has moved since then. Bears, Vikings. Vikings have gone down from a 4-point favorite to a 3-point favorite at home. They got 70% of the tickets, but only 65% of the cash. So the market read is looking like there's reverse line movement here. It looks like the public is on the home favorite in the Vikings. Looks like the line is moving against it, and the cash discrepancy is against it. So the market read says to take the points with the Bears. That may be the way that I play it in the pick'em pools. One of my worst pick'em pool weeks ever, too, because this has been like the public has just been winning almost every one of these games. It's just disgusting, man. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But the Bears, I can't get there with the Bears as like a play or anything like that. Like, there's no strong read on this game. Bears are coming off a tough game against the Detroit Lions, where they had the Lions on the ropes and blew a 12-point lead near the end of that game. So I can't play the Bears after that. I don't know. I mean, it is a Monday night divisional game, so they might still get up for this, but it'll be tough to get up off the mat after that game. It's possible they like run out of steam or something like that. But so that keeps me off of being able to play the Bears there. And they do have the Lions next as well. So it's a Lion sandwich. But when you're the Bears and you don't have like any wins, really, you only have 3 wins on the season, I don't think you're going to overlook anybody, and you'll probably want to show up on a Monday night. So that's that aspect of it. And then on the other side of it, the Vikings are on a short week where they had that game, looked like they should have won the game that I was on, where they still covered against the Denver Broncos. That was so they have 2 Monday night games in a row, I guess. That was a tough. Was that Monday night or Sunday night? Maybe that was Sunday night. But that was a tough game. So they have 2 late primetime games in a row there. So they're on a slightly short week because they played on Sunday night. But that is the situation. And they're coming off a pretty big win just because it was a Monday night primetime game there. So I don't know what to think about that. And the public, I think, is probably too high on Josh Dobbs. They love the Josh Dobbs show, but remember that he still is having to learn that system. Like, they just threw him into the fire and he looked good for 2 weeks. But I mean, he's been pretty good, but he's still learning that system. He's new to the Vikings system. So I like the guy. I mean, he's pretty good. I think he's an underrated quarterback, or he tends to be. But now I think because he won those first 2 games, there's some like weird, like Josh Dobbs hype train now that I'm not sure if it's that warranted. Moving to the rest of the card here, college basketball, I just won't even comment on it. Like, I don't like the college basketball card today. It's a Monday. It's tough to assess. I'm not going to have anything in college basketball. Nothing to really even talk about there. Short NBA card as well. The only thing I would say here is that I think the Trailblazers are probably not in the best spot because they had a game yesterday where they played Milwaukee to within 6, a tough game where I think Milwaukee was returning home from a road trip or something there. So I said I leaned Portland to cover that, but it was a huge number. Like, I think they were 12, 13 point underdog, and they are again here because the line is shot up on the Pacers from 9 to 12, and they have 89% of the cash, but 82% of the tickets. I think it's a bad spot for the Trailblazers on a back-to-back, coming off playing the Bucks tough, but I just can't do it, man. The line has moved up to reflect that. It's moved 3 points. This line is now basically saying the Pacers are almost as good as the Bucks, because the line is almost the same as the Bucks had against the Blazers yesterday. I don't totally buy that, but I think the Blazers are just in a bad spot. So situationally, the lean would be to the Pacers, but there's no way I'm doing it. No way I'm doing that. And then Pelicans Jazz is weird too, because we're seeing like a zigzag, but the line going in the opposite way to kind of counter the zigzag, as books know that the zigzag is a phenomenon now. But I'm surprised that this line has moved as much as it has. So I was on the Jazz the other night, as you know, and they were able to make that huge comeback with kind of that like motley crew that they have in Utah right now. Got the win. That was good. It was a bad spot for the Pelicans, in my opinion. And the Pelicans had actually moved up to a 2 or 2.5 point favorite when that game tipped off. And I only had a Jazz +1 ticket, so that wasn't good. There wasn't much value to be had there. I didn't beat the closing line on that one. So I didn't have the most value that I could have, is what I should say. But now this line has gone up in the second game here after the Pelicans lost that game as a 2.5 point favorite. Same matchup again. They're -4, and they've gone up to -4.5 now with 99% of the cash and 95% of the tickets. So this line is just way out of control here. Like, I would sort of lean the Pelicans way to readjust in the sort of the zigzag situation, but I'm not laying 4.5 on the road, man. I'm just not doing that. But situationally, it would make sense that they would be the team that would make the adjustments there. So that's the way I look at that. I can't do it, though. Moving to hockey, just one opinion and one play real quick here, and then I'll get out of here. I think the spot is bad for Calgary. Vegas is at Calgary. Vegas is down from -120 to -114 as a road favorite. So it looks like the market is going against them, even though I don't see the ticket and cash percentages yet on this one. Vegas looks like the line is dropping on them. So it looks like the money might be kind of on the Calgary side, at least to this point early, but I don't like it because Calgary is returning from a road trip. So 4-game road trip where they went 2-2. They did stay out kind of in mountain time and Pacific time though. So not like the longest road trip and not like crazy, like time zone shifting road trip. But they played some good teams and they finished with a win over the Stars and then a loss at Colorado. So a couple of tough games there. Now they're returning home. So I think that puts them in a bad spot. In Vegas lost their last home game, which I was on, the Arizona Coyotes in that one. I thought they were kind of in a sandwich spot there. Vegas is now starting a road trip and might be focused after that. After you get blanked on your home ice like that, you go out on the road. I think that's more of a positive for Vegas there, even though this is a divisional game for Vegas. So I think they might be focused there. But the reason that keeps me off of it a little bit is that I think even though it's a return home for Calgary, it's Vegas coming to your house. So I think you'll still going to want to be focused and try to be focused for that. You might not have that typical like home distraction spot that you might have otherwise, but they are in a tough spot playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, a fourth game in 6. So I can't play either side in that one, but sort of most of my typical like handicapping because it's a road return to home for Calgary and a start of a road trip for Vegas. That would kind of have me leaning Vegas, but I can't quite get there with it because I think Calgary will still be focused on a team as good as Vegas is. The game I'm on, I'm just throwing money on a big underdog here, and I don't expect them to win, but I expect them to maybe be able to win this game a higher percentage of the time than the odds are suggesting here. And it's going to be on the Buffalo Sabres. Hopefully they get there because otherwise I'll take another losing day. But it's kind of, you're not really expecting to have a winning day when you're only play on the board. It's a big hockey underdog, but we'll see. Rangers are up from -210 to -218 is a pretty big home favorite, moneyline favorite. 99% of the cash, but 96% of the tickets is what's showing here. But it's very early, so I don't think that's taking into account many of the bets right now. The Rangers are certainly going to be the public team. I don't know where the cash discrepancy is going to wind up going, but it's a bad spot for the Rangers, man. That's why I'm doing it. They're coming off a slew of games. They had a road trip, 4-game road trip that took them as far as Dallas at least, but most of it was still in the area. They came home and they beat the Bruins 7-4. Huge win there. You can't really look better than that. I think they overtook the Bruins in points too with that. I don't know. They're ahead of the Bruins now, I think, with that win. That was a huge win for them with Quick in net. And I think Shesterkin's going to be back in net for this one as they've kind of been alternating a little bit. And he's their top goalie in the depth chart, even though they've both been pretty good. But so that's one thing in favor of the Rangers, I guess. But other than that, I think it's a huge letdown spot and a sandwich spot for them because they're coming off that huge win over Boston. They have 1 day off after that. They're still sitting at home. And you got to be like still basking in the glow of that win. You didn't have the return home distraction in that one, even though I thought you might be doing like holiday things that you missed while you were out on the road. But you had a big opponent coming in, so you were focused. The Rangers are focused. They won that game. And up next, they have Detroit, who's been playing really well, and also beat the Bruins and have a really good record as well. You got Buffalo sandwiched in here, and I think – yeah, you could overlook Buffalo here. You're in a letdown spot. I think it's a sandwich. You got potential look ahead to Detroit, who's got a better record. Are you really going to be paying that much attention to Buffalo, who hasn't been playing well, and they're below 500? Probably not. And Buffalo, on the other hand, they lost 7-2 to New Jersey in their last game to start their road trip, and they also only have 1 day off and are playing a third game in 4 days. So take from that what you will. But when you lose 7-2, man, that's embarrassing. And maybe they had one eye looking ahead to this bigger game than New Jersey, even though New Jersey hasn't been playing that well. But they were also off of an overtime game against Washington, then returning home and beating Pittsburgh. So they didn't have the return home distraction spot there. They beat Pittsburgh, fairly big win there, nice win. Now they're off an embarrassing loss, even though it was to a decent team in New Jersey. Anytime you give up 7 goals, that's embarrassing, man. So I'm just going to take Buffalo plus 185 on the money line there. I think it's basically a sandwich for the Rangers, and Buffalo's in a spot where they are going to want to try to bounce back after a pretty ugly loss. So that's it, man. That's the daily recap there. So Buffalo Sabres is a big hockey moneyline underdog, and that's it. Very short card today. Hopefully we get kind of lucky and it gets there, although I think they have a higher percentage to win that game than what the odds are telling you. So don't expect them to win every single time, but more of the time than what the odds suggest. So that's it, man. Have a good day. Peace out.